Hi, so I'm gonna go ahead and make this video. I made one before, but it came out too long-winded, and I was like, I don't want to submit another really long video to YouTube because y'all don't need to go through that kind of torture. Um, and this is about Clexacon, so it's a convention that's for women and LGBTIQA plus community. That is here. It's multi-fandom based convention here in Las Vegas, and it actually seems to alternate being hosted different places, so that's pretty cool. But this year it's here in Las Vegas at the Tropicana, and I actually am going because I submitted, I was looking for a replacement event for Colloquium, which is a fancy way of saying, hi, limited residency, mainly online, very custom degree, independent study style graduate students working on thesis. We would really, that's a mouthful, we would really like you to come on campus and network with other people in your department, so in my case, Arts and Humanities department, and talk to people from just different departments in general, so like adventure education, environmental studies, especially at the MA level, so master's, graduate level. And that's really cool, and I've done it. I really do enjoy it. Like the last spring, at the end of last spring, at the end of last semester too in the fall, meeting up with people, seeing where people are, sitting in on different research, not research projects, I mean they are, but like their thesis, so yeah, their research. And there talks about that, and I mean last fall I had to give my qualifying presentation, which is another fancy way of saying, we need you to do some kind of presentation that meets these standards as per our handbook to make sure that when you go and submit everything else to get all of your, everything approved so you can start your research on your thesis, right? It's one of the main reasons you do it, that we know that you're not going to have any trouble presenting that information later, right? It's basically you also proving that you have presentation skills too. So I did that last semester, but this semester I was like, okay, there were a lot of things going on. One, Prescott has a lot of, this is in Arizona, right, where the college is, Prescott College I go to for graduate work. It has a lot of events going on this particular weekend that they scheduled it for us MA students. So they have the Native Arts Festival, they have some kind of marathon going on. There's the fact that you have a lot of people who are weekenders from Phoenix in Arizona that drive up there and spend their time out of the city. During that, you have some early bird people who do weddings and all of that as well. Like I normally like staying at the Grand Highland Hotel, but they do have this really nice event space. And the last two times I was staying there, they did have a wedding over the weekend, and I mean it was cool in that I was afraid that it would be too much noise, but I think they must have some kind of ordinance that says no noise after a certain amount, which is hilarious because it's on Whiskey Row, but I mean like not DJs and other stuff, because it does shut down at around like 9 p.m. so even if you stay there, you don't have to worry about not being able to sleep most of the time. I've never really had a problem with that. Also, Grand Highland their policy is they have 24 hours somebody's at the front desk. So I like that part. I couldn't stay there this time because all these events were at the same time as the master's colloquium, right? So you had all that going on. Then I have my medical bills, right? From my second spinal fusion surgery, my third back surgery overall in my life, okay, from scoliosis, and managing that with a out-of-pocket that's around $8,000 has been very challenging. And all the prices of the hotels as well tend to go up over the weekend. So at all those events, you could see how maybe the rates would go up, and then they were short on rooms and all that sort of thing. And I'm traveling alone. If the circumstances were different and I felt more comfortable meeting up with other students and sharing a room and splitting the cost, that would have helped, but I don't have anybody that I feel quite that comfortable with yet. I definitely have people I like that I've met there, but I don't know them very well, and I tend to be a very introverted. I don't seem introverted, but I am actually a fairly introverted person, and I don't always. I have some trust issues because, yeah, So when I have to share a hotel room or something like that with people, I tend to be kind of like, I need to know you fairly well, right? Okay. So that aside, because again, I like having my space is the other thing when I travel. And a part of that's also because of disability. Like if you have a lot of pain issues, you don't want to be sharing a room with somebody who may come come back to the room at a certain time, and you're just like, you don't want to have any of that interrupted while you're trying to rest, is really what it is. You're trying to rest. So part of that has to do with disability and pain management. And my thesis is actually, it's about chronic conditions, in my case, 20 years of scoliosis, complementary and alternative medicine, mainstream medicine, disability justice. All of those things are part of my thesis. And I was trying to find a replacement event because you are allowed in the handbook to propose a replacement event. So I saw Clexacon, again, LGBTIQA+ and women's convention that's multi-fandom, so it definitely has like the pop culture element, but it has so many different workshops that are related to developing your skills as a content creator, so digitally, through writing, just like all sorts of writing too, like fiction, nonfiction, screenplay, all that kind of stuff. And then you have people who are like performing artists, so actors and actresses, or I'm sorry, I really hate that there's not really a gender neutral term for that, but anyway, people who act, right? Whether it's stage or TV or movies or whatnot. So different aspects of their performing arts, right? So there's all those kinds of things going on too. It's not just, oh, we have an artist alley, oh, we have cosplay, oh, we have vendors and stuff. It's not just that. It's there's a lot of neat things going on in the workshop kind of and talks, kind of speaker series type things. So I'm really excited to participate in that part. That's mainly what I'm there for, is to learn from those talks and hopefully have interesting discussions with people afterwards, both maybe people I meet in the audience or afterwards. I won't interrupt their talk. Or, during, right? In fact, they're having their first ever academic lab this year, which is about, there's several ways, people could participate in, and are ways people could look to benefit from that. It's discussing women and also LGBTIQA+ representation in the classroom, so maybe related to inclusion. You have people who are also talking about those particular topics in their research, so academia, right? So like women, gender, and sexuality studies kind of stuff, which is really important. It's honestly, in the official sense, it's a very new field, right, at a lot of universities and colleges. Thanks for existing, though, because without you, I would have had more trouble figuring out that I'm gray asexual and that I'm gender fluid, which is great to have words to express that experience or those experiences. Oh, wow. I exist. Yes, I do. I would whether I had those terms or not, but it really does help to be able to be like, this is what I'm experiencing. And yes, there are variations of how different people experience that, but incredibly important stuff to me, especially given the fact I'm a grad student. You can probably guess that I'm more than a bit nerdy and I tend to be a bit of an academic. However, it's also very important to me to discuss breaking down walls when it comes to affordability for education, and not just for university and colleges, but for trades, okay, so for trade school kind of things, because I went to a trade school too before I went back to junior college, so near and dear to my heart, very personally, it's important to me. I'm not a, I tend to get very irritated and or angry with people who are very elitist in academia, because it serves nothing other than your own ego, and I hate that, okay? And I don't use hate very often as a word, but I hate that. So it provides a very interesting opportunity there, that academic lab, and there's going to be some speakers and some activities, it sounds like, related to that. So that'll be a fun experience, hopefully. At the very least, I'll learn, right? And which is what I'm there for. And they have different workshops. So like one of them was disability and LGBTQ+. And the other one was, I'm going to get some of these official titles, because these titles that folks developed for their talks are great. So they have like inclusive books and podcasts, diverse stories without tokenism, decolonizing queer spaces, like I said, disabled and LGBT plus, disrupting for change, building inclusive communities. That one looks, I mean, they all look interesting, but that one in particular, I was like, oh, look at that, yeah. Finding LGBTQ plus mental health resources, the misconceptions of the plus in LGBTQ plus, and queer storylines in therapy, constructing your narratives through fictional characters. So those are just some of the different talks, speaker series, workshops, kind of things going on. So it's not, like I said, it is like a multi-fandom con, but there's so much more to it than that. It's really providing, at least to me, I don't know, because I haven't been yet, right? This is the before video. I want to do an after one where it's like, this is what it was actually like. It's been really neat to see, because it's like, okay, so there's all this stuff that I'm used to seeing, because I've gone to comic and anime conventions off and on over the years. So I'm used to things like Artist Sally, cosplays, vendor halls. Everybody has vendor halls, right? I even used to go to like kind of cam, or I don't want to say new agey, it's probably pagan's more accurate kind of conventions and stuff like that. So I'm used to all these terms, but just the breadth of the speakers and the workshops, and some of the workshops you have to pay for, a lot of them, like most of them, do not, which is super, super cool. And then the academic lab, they have a creator lab too, I think that's what it's called, but I may do that some other year, but I really wanted to do the academic lab. So we'll do that. They also have some meetups. One of them is the asexual and aromantic meetup, so that's pretty cool. I'd like to go to that, because I have actually, surprisingly, met a lot of ace or aspec people, depending on how people like to be, how they like to be referred to, right? It's a personal thing. And it would be neat to have that experience at a con as well. I might try the friend speed friending event. It looked interesting. And if I'm really going to throw myself out there to try and meet new people and network, which is another thing I want to do at this event, then that would be a way to do it. For better or for worse. Again, you could just be like, hey, I did that. That was awkward. Or like, hopefully, maybe something good comes from it. So you're not wandering around the whole weekend on your own, right? Maybe you have a few people that you can at least be like, hey, do you want to have lunch or something at some point during the day, even if you go separate ways. Because again, I'm really doing this for academic reasons. I'm not there to party. I'm there to learn. I know a lot of people are going to be there to party, and I'm just like, first of all, stopped being my scene in my early 20s, because I'm almost 30 now. And it's cool if you want to do that, but I don't care. I don't want to be involved in that. Have fun. And I know that sounds strange because I live in Las Vegas, but I mean, whatever. Teach their own, right? Okay. So I'm just excited to get to go. I have no idea what it'll be like. I did have to write a very informal, but I did have to write a proposal. It was super informal. I mean, I did have to write it to get approved by my mentor, my core faculty advisor, and then I believe my core faculty advisor took it to some other people and had them approve that as well as an alternative limited residency that checks out instead of colloquium in Prescott in Arizona. So that was cool. I'm really happy about it. To be able to get to go do this. I just actually took one of my friends, because I had a friend who visited a few weeks ago that I picked up at McCarran International Airport, and then another friend that I just went and visited with, they came to me through Amtrak and the bus. They were here for Rebel Preview Day, which is UNLV. They're a newly admitted student, and I'm really, really excited for them. They're gonna finally get their BA, and I'm like, oh yay! Because I don't really, again, I'm not like super pretentious about that stuff. It's like everybody has different life journeys, and that's totally cool and valid. And not everybody needs a BA, not everybody needs an MA. So, but for what they want to do, that's an important thing for them to have, and they've taken a very cool road. Like, they're very entrepreneurial. They have a lot of different side businesses and stuff that they've done over the years, but they finally decided they'd like to go back to school and probably still be doing that other stuff too to make some money. So I admire them very much for that reason. They have much more of an independent drive and spirit than I think they realize they do. So we had a lot of fun hanging out, even though she was only here for a few days. And we actually really enjoyed being at the Las Vegas Oddities store, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite places to go in town. It's in the Arts District. So Meow or Never Cat Cafe is supposed to be opening here, I think maybe this year also as well. It'll be Las Vegas's first and only cat cafe, and it'll be in that general area as well, along with Arts Factory, Makers, Finders, Hop Nuts, Buffalo Exchange, Retro Vegas, all these neat little stores down there. There's even like a rockabilly clothing store as well. There's some drinking places aside from Hop Nuts. There's like the Velveteen Rabbit and all that. If you're into that scene and you have fun doing it, I'm just saying, like, it's there. And so Oddities is also there, Las Vegas Oddities, and I love stopping in there, and the people that work there are really nice. I love how eccentric and quirky everybody is. Like, yeah, you understand. So I was sad though, because I wanted to get a pin for a friend who's currently at the University of Glasgow doing, I believe it's medieval studies, and their dissertation, their research has to do with plague studies. So I knew them from my undergrad time at Mills College, because we went to a historic women's college in Oakland, California. We were both scholarships, and grant kind of students. And because there's no way we could afford to be there without it. And it was cool to get to meet them there. And now they've been living in Scotland for like a year and a half almost now. And through different ways, we're pooling resources so I might be able to finally travel internationally for the first time, because again, I have medical bills. But like my mom would say, God willing, I'll be at Glasgow hopefully this year, getting to visit them and get to travel for the first time internationally. And I also will, Clexacon will probably have security as well, and I'm thinking of like customs at the airport and all that. And I'm glad I carry printouts of my x-rays of my spine, because I have so much metal, so much, okay? Like, it's enough that people at two different TSAs here in the States, they've seen everything. And even with them, it's like after they see my body scan, yes, I have pit stains, it's hot, it's gonna be almost 80 or 90 today. Body sweat going over it. That like they were like they looked at me like kind of like, oh, So I carry x-rays that have my first and last name, my date of birth, and then like the date that it was taken, the x-ray, the printout of, and I'm actually, that reminds me, I'm going to have to request a documentation from my orthopedic surgeon when I travel internationally as well. I believe that would just be a good practice. And I also tend to take photos of it, so it's on my phone too, in case I ever get separated from my documentation. So those are all things you have to think about when you have lots of metal, because people can think you're carrying something dangerous and make snap decisions that could really hurt you, right? So these are things people don't normally think of. That also doesn't include the fact that I don't know if I'm going to need my back brace while I'm traveling on the plane to Scotland. And that's a whole nother issue in and of itself, because people can be ignorant and weird when it comes to all that. Actually, I had one time before I had surgery, and I was still I was like, I got 4 to 6 hours out of my day some days. And then I need something like a cane to walk, or I just couldn't hardly at all anymore. It was that bad. That I needed like a cane. I had like a cane, and I remember being in like a store down in the Arts District that shall remain nameless, that I probably will never go back in again. And this elderly woman tried to take my cane from me because I think she thought that it was one of the canes from their store. And she literally reached and tried to grab my cane from me. And at that point, it was like right after surgery, and I was still having trouble walking because I wasn't healed yet. Now I can walk in ways I never thought I'd be able to walk again. And by that I mean like just such a difference has been made. And again, we don't know how long that'll last. I'm hoping for the rest of my life, but yeah. Anyway, so that kind of stuff is a very real anxiety issue, like anxiety, like medical anxiety. It's traumatic when people do things like that to you because they assume that you're young and there's no way you could have all that stuff going on with you. It's like, just because it's rare doesn't mean it's impossible. And I wish it wasn't there, but it is. So you have to learn how to deal with that and then be patient with people who are that ignorant, but you also have to be stern and firm, especially when people are about to take something that you need, like a mobility or assistive device. Anyway, yeah, there are a lot of reasons I'm studying disability justice. That's one of them. So this is a video about Clexacon, not just that, but about Clexacon and it being a replacement residency to fulfill my stuff for colloquium. They do have scholarships for people who may find it difficult to afford going to Clexacon. That's on their website if you want to see the details. I did not take advantage of that because I wasn't timely about it. But it is there, so now you know. And yeah, that's all this is gonna be. That's what this video is about. So yeah, and I hope to make another video about afterwards because I have no idea what it's gonna be like. I'm hoping I don't have sensory overload when I get there because I might. We'll just see how that goes. And in the meantime, stay well to the best of your ability. Take care.